Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the second video in our proportional reasoning series. Today we're going to continue with rates, and we're going to look at problems involving rates. So I don't really have anything to tell you. We're just going to get right into examples. All right, example 1. It takes 3 hours, 26 minutes to fill a 3,200 liter water tank. Determine the time in hours and minutes it will take to fill a 2,600 liter tank. Round your answer to the nearest minute. Okay, so there's a lot going on there. So again, like I was doing in that previous video, I kind of like to just write down what's happening. So, okay, so 3 hours, 26 minutes. That's going to fill up a 3,200 liter tank. We're wondering how long it's going to take to fill a 2,600 liter tank. Okay, so when you're working with, so again, really what we're going to do here is, that's the outline, just so you know. I'm going to find the unit rate here of this guy, and then I'm going to use a proportion to find, actually I just lied to you, I don't need the unit rate. I'm going to find a rate though, or express that expression as a rate, and then I can use a proportion to find that missing time. But when I'm using a rate, I can't have a mixed unit like 3 hours, 26 minutes. So what I'll have to do is actually convert that. Okay, so I guess I could say step 1, convert to minutes. Now this is steps just for this problem, but I kind of want to give you a little bit of a guide. So 3 hours, 26 minutes. I want to convert that just to minutes. So 3 hours, that's an hour is a set of 60 minutes. So really if I go 3 times 60 plus 26, I can convert that just back to minutes. So I get 206 minutes. Okay, so now that I have that, I can get into my proportion. So step 2 will be my proportion. So you'll be using lots of proportions in these problems. Proportions, super handy. One of the most valuable things that I could likely teach you for everyday kind of math. Anyway, so I'll start, and again, it doesn't really matter what goes on top. I'm going to put 206 minutes on top over then 3,200 liters. Yeah, so just to update this actually, so over here now I've converted this, right? That is now 206 minutes. Okay, so I've got that. Now that is just a basic rate, not a unit rate, and the reason it's not a unit rate is the bottom number is not a 1. Just to clarify, I could absolutely turn this into a unit rate and then progress, but it's just kind of an extra step that I don't need. Why someone might do it though is it would keep your numbers smaller, so that is a benefit, but I'm okay with these larger numbers because truly I'm going to be using a calculator to help me out. If you weren't using a calculator though, it might be nice to have a unit rate. Anyway, again, we are now wondering, so proportions, you always start with some sort of math fact. So this is a math fact we got from the problem. On the other side, this is where we put our missing value. So I'm wondering about the time, so how many minutes to fill a 2,600 liter water tank. Okay, so now that I have my proportion set up, I'll cross multiply. So I always like to bring my variable to the left side. So it'll be that times x equals 206 times 2,600. Again, don't bring your units with you, right? The units are just there to help you set things up. So 3,200x equals 535,600. And then I want the x, so I'm going to divide by 3,200. Divide by 3,200. Again, I'm just, using my calculator to find these values. So you can do that yourself as well. And I get 167.375 minutes. All right, so I kind of know the time. It takes about 167 minutes to fill this tank, but it says up here it wants it in hours and minutes. So we have one extra step to do. So often you'd be done there, but in this question they're being a bit more picky. They want they want it back into hours and minutes. So this is hours and minutes, and you can likely think of a few different ways to do this yourself. One of the easiest ways is remember how many minutes make up an hour? Well, 60. Okay, so then we're going to take the time we know and divide it by 60 because that'll see how many sets of 60 minutes fit in there. So how many hours will come out of there. And you'd get 2.79. So we know it'd be 2 full hours and then, like 0.79 of an hour, which you could figure out 0.79 times 60, or you could just go, okay, well, 167.375 and then subtract the 2 hours, which is 120 minutes. And then you know that it'd be okay, that's 47.375. So I know I have 2 hours and then the 47 minutes. Now it also says to the nearest minute. So nearest minute. Okay, so then I get to round. So step 4, my answer, I guess, 2 hours, 47 minutes, because it's the nearest minute and that would round down. All right, so there's our problem and there's our solution. So the big key here is that we're always going to get some sort of rate to set up a proportion. Rates and proportions work well because the rate could always be that left side, and if you're looking for something, you usually have another piece of information to put on the right side. So this is kind of the template we'll be using as we move forward. All right, example 2. Michael must order snacks for an office meeting of 170 people. He decides to order tarts, which come in boxes of 12. He estimates that he'll need 1.5 tarts or 1.5 tarts per person. How many boxes should Michael buy? Okay, again, you don't have to do this, but I like to summarize. So I'm going to write down, okay, so we have 170 people. He's going to buy he's buying boxes of 12. And he also know that it's 1.5 tarts. Tart per person. Okay, so hopefully you've noticed right away that the 1.5 tart per person is actually a unit rate. So like I said before, we're always going to use a proportion, and that rates or unit rates are natural fits for proportions. So again, on your left side, right here, this is where we always put our math fact, and the math fact will be our unit rate or our basic rate. So it doesn't really matter how you do this. You could go, so I'll go 1.5, and that's tarts, and this is for every one person. On the other side, we're wondering how many tarts he should buy. Now, why am I wondering how many tarts? Because once I know how many tarts he should buy, then I can decide how many boxes of 12 that he'll need. And that is for 170 people. Okay, so there's my proportion. Now I just get to solve. There is, of course, an easier way to do this. I shouldn't say of course. But if you can find a shortcut to do this, by all means, go for it. It's really just multiplying. So if you know that one person eats 1.5 tarts, so how many would 170 people eat? Well, you just multiply the 1.5 times 170, and you can see that's what the proportion will do for you anyway. So the shortcut is kind of using your own thinking, and just the shortcut, find that multiplication. If that kind of confuses you, you can always go to this proportion. Anyway, back to this. When I multiply that, I get 255 tarts. Okay, so based on his estimation, he needs about 255 tarts. So then now, remember, the question is really how many boxes. So, kind of similar to before, we're knowing that there's 12 tarts in a box. So if I divide the 255 by 12, they'll tell me how many boxes I would need. And that works out to 21.25. So can he buy 21.25? No, he cannot. So you often, when you're buying things, you're going to have some leftover, and he'll just have a couple extra. So really, he needs to buy 22 boxes, and he'll have some extra. He can eat those himself, or he can just see kind of how the party goes. So there's my answer. All right, that's example 2. Okay, example 3. Jenna wants to defrost a frozen turkey in her microwave. The turkey has a mass of 4.23 kilograms. A cookbook says it takes 21 minutes to defrost 3 pounds of meat. How long to the nearest minute should Jenna set the timer on defrost for? Okay, so I'm just going to write down a couple details again. With respect to our turkey, we know we have it's a 4.23 kilogram turkey. We also know what that cookbook told us. It says it takes 21 minutes to defrost 3 pounds of meat. Okay, so there's a bit of a disconnect. We have a turkey that's measured in kilograms, but we have our instruction, which is in pounds. So we'll need to convert these into the same unit. Once they're in the same unit, then they can kind of work together. So again, Usually I turn my pounds into kilograms, but this one it makes a little bit more sense. See, my instruction is 21 minutes for every 3 pounds. I might as well convert my kilograms into pounds. Not too bad, not too tough to do. So the way I do that is, remember, 1 kilogram is approximately 2.2 pounds. So then all I really need to do, if I have 4.23 kilograms, I go my 2.2, my original, times the 4.23. Okay, and that is 9.31. So I did this kind of the shortcut way. I didn't use a proportion. So for people who are wondering maybe what I meant by shortcut, that's me just using my own logic. If 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds, then 4.23 should be the 2.2 times 4.23. Okay, and then I can update, and I'll update this up here. So now I have 9.31 pounds. And now both of these ideas are in pounds, so now I can kind of move forward with it. So I have my proportion. Okay, so my proportion is going to be, or my math fact is going to be, this detail I got from that cooking book. And again, it doesn't matter what you put on top. If you go 21 over 3 or 3 over 21, when I did the work before, I just for some reason went 21 pounds over, 21 minutes over 3 pounds. And I am wondering how long it's going to take if I have a turkey that is 9.31 pounds. Okay, so it's set up, so now I can start working. So 3 times x. Again, do not take the units with you. They're just there to help you set up the problem. 9.31. So 3x equals, that works out to 195.51. And then I divide both sides by 3. X equals 65.17 minutes. Now, it says how long to the nearest minute should Jenna set the timer. So really what we would do then is we'd have to kind of update that. So nearest minute, that'd be 65 minutes she should set her timer for. If you don't like that, though, you could say 1 hour and 5 minutes. However you want to express that final answer. Okay, so that's example 3. Again, so a lot of these problems are just with comparisons and what's the better deal or what's the better thing to do. And then we can use these proportions and rates, right, to help us find those. So this example 4, similar idea, just a different situation. Bob burns 620 calories in a cardio kickbox class lasting 2 hours, and 120 calories in a body sculpt class lasting 30 minutes. If he does cardio kickbox for 3 hours, how much longer would he have to body sculpt to burn the same number of calories? You might be thinking the same thing I am. How much time does Bob have in his day? My gosh, this guy's wasting a lot of time at the gym. I shouldn't say wasting. I'm sure it's time well spent, but he's got a lot of extra time to be able to do that. Anyway, so what we're going to do here is we got to figure out, first of all, how many calories that Bob is going to burn in his 3-hour class. So, just some things I know that the 620 calories in 2 hours in the kickboxing, and then we know 120 calories in the body sculpt class, which is 30 minutes. So remember, this is the cardio kickbox, and this is the body sculpt. So let's figure out how, if he does the cardio for the 3 hours, how much longer would he have to body sculpt to burn the same number of calories? Okay, so I keep saying okay, so we're going to have 2 proportions in this problem. Okay, so for our first proportion, let's work with this cardio kickbox. And it's saying that he's doing cardio for 3 hours. So we're kind of wondering how many calories he's going to burn. And then based on that, we want to see, okay, well, how long do we have to do the body sculpt for to burn that same amount of calories he just burned in that cardio kickbox class? Just to kind of review what we're really asking here. So for the cardio kickbox, I'm going to use my little fact here, which is 620 calories over, takes him 2 hours to do that. And we're saying in this one, we know he's going to go for 3 hours, so we're wondering how many calories. Calories he's going to burn. So set up my proportion, and then I'm off to the races. Proportions are so nice to work with. Very easy. Again, there's shortcuts though, so if you're like, Mr. Troy, like why would I want to take all that time when I simply know I can multiply the 620 times 3 and divide by 2? Hey, do it then. If you get it, if you understand that logic, go for it. So in 3 hours, we know this dude's going to burn 930 calories. What we're wondering is how long you have to do the body sculpt class to burn the 930 calories again. Okay, so now it says how long, right? So, right? I keep saying that. I'm saying that every time I'm on the side of my little screen, which you can't see, selecting colors, and sometimes my pen isn't working, so I'm killing time by saying, so, back to work. All right, so how much longer? Let's use our rate, forgot the word, that we were given in the initial question. So that for the body sculpt class, you burn 120 calories over 30 minutes. And we know that we want this dude to burn 930 calories. So we're kind of wondering, sorry, how many minutes it'll take for that to happen. Okay, so once I have that set up, 120 times x, 30 times 930, divide by 120, divide by 120. I kind of did this one a little bit differently. I didn't show all my work there. So I end up getting 232.5 minutes. So 232.5 minutes. Let's figure out what that is in hours. I'm going to squeeze this in here. So hours and minutes. And again, if I divide that by 60, that's a good way to start. That's 232.5 minutes divided by 60. It works out to 3.875 or 3.9 hours. And you know what? For this question, that would be enough. So I'm just going to leave it in hours, actually. If you went to minutes, that'd be fine as well. And we can do that maybe at the end. So I know it would take him 3.9 hours to burn those calories. It said how much longer. Well, remember, I'll go step 4 over here, that the kickbox or cardio kickbox, he did that for 3 hours and he burned the 930. The body sculpt, it's taking 3.9 hours. So to figure out how much longer, obviously it's 0.9 of an hour. Now if you want to figure out like 0.9 of an hour, that's kind of a weird thing to say, right? So what we can do is we can just go 0.9 times 60, and that'll tell us how many minutes 0.9 of an hour actually is. And that works out to 54, and that's 54 minutes. So it would take Bob an extra almost basically hour. If he just did the body sculpt, it would take him an extra hour. So cardio kickbox seems like it's the better deal for him, right? He gets more bang for his buck. Okay, so that's all the examples I have for you today. The situations are all different, but really they come down to the exact same process where we're dealing with these proportions to help us kind of sort our way through these problems to see what's a better deal or a better situation or whatever we're talking about. I hope it made sense. If it didn't, make sure you talk to your teacher or get in contact with me. I'd love to help you. Have a great night, everybody.